So E3 was last week, and from it we learned a lot of good things regarding all of the upcoming games. Unfortunately, though, not everything we learned was good news. One of the negative things that we learned was regarding Pokemon Sword and Shield, the upcoming new Pokemon games. And that news is that they are going to limit the Pokedex, or rather, the Pokemon in the Pokedex. Now, what does this mean? Limiting the Pokemon that you have in the Pokedex is not something that hasn't happened before. Because in every single game, you always have the Pokemon, the new ones that come with that generation, and then you might have a few of the old ones as well. This is in the story. So as you go through the story, you'll get to encounter all the new Pokemon, except for maybe some of the legendaries that you can get post game, and then a few of the old faces too. Except for Black and White, where you could only find the new regional Generation 5 Pokemon in the story, and had to reach the post game in order to catch anything that wasn't from Generation 5. Now, the in between games, like Ultra Sun and Moon and Black and White 2, their normal regional dex was much more, like it was wider. It had more throughout the story. You could find a lot more than in their first, Black and White and normal Sun and Moon. But once you got to the national decks in the post game, you were able to have every single Pokemon. So not all of them would be catchable natively in the game, but any that you could not catch in the game, you could just transfer over from a previous game. They've always allowed this. So back in, like, I remember it was like Pearl and Diamond, you had this like Safari Zone type area where you could transfer Pokemon over, and then you enter that area and you could catch them. So even though you couldn't like fill the national decks with just playing in the game without trading or transferring, you could still transfer all of them over, and in the end, you could catch them all. So what they're doing now is that they're gonna limit the national decks, meaning that there's only gonna be a set amount of Pokemon in it, which means these are the only ones that you can find in the game, which is not too outrageous because again, you could never catch every single Pokemon in just one game. So that's not too like outrageous, but what they did add is that whatever Pokemon is not in the national dex, you can't transfer it either into Sword and Shield. This means that whatever's in the dex is all you're gonna get. So this obviously was very controversial. A lot of people were angered by it with good reason because so far every single entry has added new Pokemons, and that's like the source of the hype is that yeah, you want to meet and catch the new Pokemon, but at the same time, it was always good to transfer the old ones or catch some of the old ones and see their new sprites and what new attacks they could learn and all of that. So by limiting the amount in the national decks, they're taking away some of the fun out of you can complete the national. You can complete the national decks, but it won't be with all the Pokemon in existence because currently there's 809 Pokemon, so you won't be able to catch all of them and have all of them in Sword and Shield. Now this is bad for me when I'm a huge Pokemon fan and I was really hyped for Sword and Shield, and this news kind of hit me a bit, kind of lowered my hype levels because it just feels wrong not being able to have every single Pokemon in the game. And what worries me the most is that they said that they're gonna limit it based on the theme of the game. So the developing team, they're gonna sit down and basically decide which Pokemons are gonna be in Sword and Shield based on the theme of the game and like the area, the region. So the only Pokemons that they believe fit the game's theme will be in it. And they also said that this is gonna be not just for Sword and Shield, it's something that they're gonna do with every game going forward. So what worries me the most is not only does that mean that we can't catch them all, so it goes against the one of the biggest like ideas of Pokemon, like the tagline. But what worries me the most is what Pokemon they're gonna choose to be in it, because basically what this means is that some of the favorites for a lot of people, like some of my favorites, some of your favorites, might not be in it. So you're gonna have to play a whole Pokemon game, start to finish, post game, and whatever online you're gonna trade or battle or whatever, without some of your favorites, which is just, it sucks to put it simply. So, like, if they take some of my favorites, like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have, or, well, no one knows actually, because they didn't give any, like, indication. They just said that fit the theme. They didn't offer, like, a number, like, how many are they gonna take out, because, like I said, we have 109 right now. So, are they gonna take away half? So, are we only gonna be able to find, like, around 400? Or are they gonna take away like 200 or 100 or 300? So we don't know how many Pokemon are gonna be missing, and they didn't give any indication of which are gonna be in it. Like, some of the gameplays do reveal some of the old ones that are probably gonna be, since they're already in like gameplay and videos and trailers and whatnot. But it worries me, because if they take out of some of my favorites, like Charizard, for example, then that's gonna suck, because I'm always gonna want to, once I get to the post game, I'm always gonna gravitate towards my favorites. Get them shiny, get them with the best stats. So it's gonna really suck if they remove, the favorites. Pretty sure that they're probably gonna still keep Pikachu and fan favorites, or more like the more iconic ones. But who knows? Maybe if they decide that they don't fit the theme, no one is safe. They can take out even Pikachu, the mascot. So this obviously is not good news. And they said they were gonna do it with every game going forward. And the reason they gave is so that they can have their development time. They could keep pumping games out at their normal pace, the pace that they've been going with, which is they release like the main series. So, for example, Sword and Shield, or to put a better example, so that I can also say the in between. They have like Sun and Moon, and then I believe it's a year and a half later they release like the in between, which is like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So in order to keep that cycle of having like main series and then having like the in between and then the next main series, so that they can keep that up every year to year and a half, then they took this decision, because it's gonna decrease development time. And when I heard this the first time, I was angered by the fact that they're gonna limit the Pokemon in the decks. But once I thought of it, it kind of does make sense, because if you think about it, there's 809 right now, and now they haven't revealed how many there are gonna be in this new region, and we're probably not gonna know until we actually get our hands on the game in November. But let's say it's probably gonna be around 100 Pokemon. So that means that with this new game, we're gonna have over 900 Pokemon. Now they always reveal like more after the game launches, so there's always gonna be like special legendaries and whatnot that they start revealing in between, leading up to the in between title, and then the in between title might have a few new ones as well. So then by the next game, the next generation will be over 900. So let's say the next generation it's gonna be like we're gonna be over 1,000. So if this keeps going, 1,000, 1,200, 1,500. If this keeps going, a few generations into the future, there might be like there's gonna be so many that it is believable that it's gonna take a lot of time to code every single one into the game. The sprite, the animations, all their move sets, their the moves that they can inherit, who they can breed with, any like what moves they can use if there's like C moves. Now we're gonna have the Dynamax feature, which they can get like big. So if they have to, every single feature they add, if they have to code it for 2,000 Pokemon in a few years, you can see how it would get hard for them to keep their same schedule. So once I sat down and thought about it, it does make sense in the long term. Right now, it doesn't seem that big a deal because we don't have, we haven't reached 1,000 yet. But in the long term, I can see how it could be a problem. So when I thought of that, I did like calm down a bit. I realized, it makes sense. It's a valid decision. However, the problem still stands because all they have to do then is just maybe take longer to develop the games, but have all the Pokemon in every single entry. That's one option. So that means less games or more time between games, but you're gonna have a complete package where you're gonna have every single Pokemon in it. So it's a balancing act. So it's either we get more games or more frequent games, less time between releases, but we have to deal with having less Pokemon in the decks, or they take longer and we have every single Pokemon. So there's no right or wrong answer, I guess. It depends on who you ask. But personally, I would prefer longer development time. Like if they can take a little bit more, but have every single Pokemon in the game, then I would probably prefer that. Unless we're talking about like 5 years or 6 years or something like that to release another game. Then that there I might be like, don't like don't do it. Just continue with the limiting so that we can have more frequent games. But at the same time, I believe that they could just have like a lot of games nowadays where they start with a base roster. Like imagine Smash, for example, or Fighters. You have a base roster to begin with, and then as time goes on, they add DLC and they add new fighters. So Pokemon could do something similar, not charge us, of course, but they could have, let's say, 600 of the 809, and then have the 100, let's say, of the new region. That's 700, and then a few months later they can have like Pokemon Dex Expansion 1 and have like 100 new ones, or 100 of the ones that they took out. And a few months later they can be like, hey, here, so they can take the time in between to maybe load a few more. So if they can't do them for the initial release, there's still post-launch support, so they can add the ones that are missing, so that you can at least transfer them. Because it's okay not that you can't catch them in the game, but they should allow you to transfer them, because they took Pokebank and they updated it. I think it's called Pokemon Home now. So there's still that. So you still have the service that's basically going to be useless now going forward, or not completely useless, because you can still transfer the ones that are in the decks, but it's still going to not be as useful. So yeah, that's it. So overall, I just wanted to make a video discussing my thoughts, because whenever something I learn of a news or something like this, I always want to like vent. So I take the chance to like make a video to like discuss it and like give my opinion. So that's my thoughts on it. I still, I'm still not a fan of it. I can understand where they're coming from, and I can see why they would take this choice. However, I think that there's ways around it. Like I said, probably the best thing they could do is not charge us, like, because all the examples I gave for fighters, they do charge you for the extra characters. So not charge you, but at least add the extra Pokemons that they're gonna take out in the future. So they'll still have to spend time, obviously, but they can still release the game and then just work on it post launch while still working on the next entry. So that's it. Let me know down below what you think. What are your thoughts on the news to limit the Pokedex, and what are your solutions? What do you think they could do to go around it? Do you prefer more time between the titles? Less time? Are you okay with the limiting of the deck? So leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching.